There is a strange power in beauty, not the shallow beauty of the face or body, but the magnetic force that draws us towards certain people as if they hold a secret we've forgotten. We live in a world built around attraction. Billboards, screens, and social feeds pulse with faces that seem more than human, confident, flawless, untouchable. We call them influencers, idols, leaders. Yet beneath the admiration lies something darker, a quiet, gnawing powerlessness. Because no matter how much we desire them, we cannot control them. It is one of the most ancient paradoxes of the human mind. The people we are most drawn to are often the ones who remain most distant. Their approval feels like sunlight, warm when it shines upon us, cold when it turns away. And the more we try to possess it, the more it escapes us. What is it about certain individuals that makes them seem immune to control, immune to need, immune to us? Carl Jung believed that attraction, real, unexplainable attraction, is never random. It is the psyche recognizing something it has lost. When you are magnetized by someone, Jung would say, you are not seeing them clearly, you are seeing the reflection of a part of yourself that has been buried. Their confidence might mirror your own repressed courage. Their mystery might represent your forgotten depth. Their independence might reveal the freedom you've sacrificed to conformity. And so we project. We fall in love not with the person, but with the unacknowledged parts of our soul that they awaken. But projection is a form of blindness. The more we project, the less we perceive. We turn people into symbols, and then suffer when they refuse to live up to the image we've created. In this sense, attraction is not a form of power, it is a form of surrender. The people we call irresistible are not gods or monsters, they are mirrors. And what terrifies us is not their beauty, but the realization that it comes from within us, from the parts of ourselves we can neither control nor fully face. It is here, in this paradox, that Jung's warning begins. What we cannot control in others is often what we have not yet understood in ourselves. Carl Jung once wrote that everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the conscious life, the darker and denser it becomes. This shadow is not a monster lurking outside of us. It is the collection of everything within us that we've learned to deny, repress, or hide. The aggression we suppress for the sake of peace. The confidence we smother for the sake of humility. The desire we conceal for the sake of acceptance. Every no we've ever told ourselves forms part of this invisible twin we drag through life. But Jung's insight was not merely psychological, it was prophetic. He realized that when we repress the shadow, it does not disappear. It waits. It hides beneath the surface of our personality, influencing our choices, shaping our obsessions, and, most powerfully, appearing in the people we fall for. The ones who fascinate us, disturb us, or draw us into their orbit without reason are rarely just beautiful. They are carriers of our unconscious. When someone radiates confidence while we feel insecure, we call them charismatic. When they seem mysterious and detached, we call them alluring. When they rebel against norms we secretly despise, we call them dangerous. But what we are really describing is not them. It is the shadow self awakening inside us. The person is only a screen, the projection is ours. This is why the most attractive people are the hardest to control. We do not see them clearly. We see fragments of our own psyche reflected back at us, refracted through their image. To control them would mean controlling something within us that we have not yet faced. And so, our desire for them becomes paradoxical. We want to possess them, but we also fear them. Because deep down, we know they hold the key to parts of us we've long buried. Jung warned that projection is one of the most dangerous forces in the psyche because it blinds us to reality. When we project our ideal self onto someone else, we surrender to them a kind of power that isn't theirs, it's ours, misplaced. We idolize, we obsess, we chase, believing that if we could only win their love, their approval, or their recognition, we would finally become whole. But wholeness does not come from merging with another. It comes from reclaiming what we've projected. The person who triggers our fascination or jealousy or longing is not the answer. They are the mirror showing us what still sleeps inside us. Jung's warning was clear: the shadow you ignore will eventually control you, from the outside. Whether in love, in rivalry, or in admiration, the unconscious always seeks to complete itself. The question is whether we will integrate it consciously or remain enslaved to it through those we cannot stop thinking about. In truth, attraction is not about finding someone extraordinary, it is about encountering the parts of yourself you have refused to see. And until you face that shadow, you will keep mistaking self-discovery for love. Desire begins as a spark, an impulse, a fleeting fascination that seems innocent. But under the surface, it is the most manipulative force in the human mind. It whispers that you are in control, that you are choosing who to love, who to chase, who to dream about. Yet the truth is far more unsettling. Desire doesn't ask for permission. It hijacks the brain, rewires perception, and replaces rational thought with a loop of emotional dependency. Modern neuroscience reveals what ancient philosophers intuited long ago, that desire functions not as fulfillment, but as pursuit. The moment we crave something, or someone, our brain releases dopamine not as a reward for having, but as motivation to chase. We become addicted to the possibility of attainment. The more uncertain the outcome, the more powerful the fixation becomes. The human mind is not drawn to satisfaction, but to tension. And so, the most attractive people, whether in beauty, charisma, or confidence, become psychological enigmas. They are not merely admired, they are worshipped, feared, and pursued like puzzles that promise meaning. Their unpredictability, their distance, their mystery, these are not flaws. They are the oxygen of obsession. Every unanswered message, every ambiguous gesture, every small withdrawal deepens the trance. The brain interprets the lack of control as a challenge, and the challenge as proof of importance. This is the cruel symmetry of desire. The harder they are to reach, the more our mind insists that reaching them will save us. We don't see them as they are. We see them as a mirror of everything we crave: approval, validation, power, belonging. When they give us attention, even for a second, the brain floods with reward. When they withdraw, it crashes into withdrawal symptoms indistinguishable from addiction. Love, at its most primal level, is not poetry, it is neurochemistry. Psychologists call this the intermittent reinforcement cycle, the same mechanism used in slot machines, social media, and propaganda. You receive rewards at unpredictable intervals, creating a powerful conditioning loop that keeps you coming back, no matter how much pain it causes. The person who can trigger this loop, intentionally or not, wields enormous psychological power. In this way, attraction becomes a subtle inversion of control. The more we desire someone, the less free we become. The more we chase their approval, the more our identity bends around their absence. The object of desire doesn't need to manipulate us, our own mind does it for them. What began as curiosity becomes dependency. What began as admiration becomes worship. And this is where Jung's insight meets modern psychology. The face of the unattainable person is not just a mystery we want to solve, it is an altar we build to our unmet needs. They become the living embodiment of our lack, and so we surrender power willingly. Desire, in its purest form, is not a path to connection but a labyrinth of control. The moment you believe you've found someone irresistible, ask yourself, who is holding the leash? There is a quiet power that belongs to those who are not easily understood. The kind of power that doesn't shout, doesn't chase, and doesn't explain. It's a power born not from dominance, but from restraint, from the art of revealing nothing, while making others desperate to know everything. This is where attraction crosses into something darker, something Machiavellian. It's no longer about beauty, charm, or charisma. It becomes about control, the subtle orchestration of attention, desire, and emotion. Niccolò Machiavelli, centuries before the rise of modern psychology, understood one timeless truth: people are driven more by their perceptions than by reality. Whoever shapes perception rules emotion. Whoever rules emotion rules people. Carl Jung, from a very different angle, described a similar force, the archetype of the unattainable ideal. A person who becomes both mirror and mystery, someone who projects just enough light to draw others in but keeps enough shadow to remain untouchable. In this duality lies their psychological advantage. The most attractive individuals, not necessarily in appearance, but in aura, instinctively embody this principle. They know that the moment they are fully known, they lose their power. Mystery, after all, is oxygen to fascination. It sustains curiosity, fuels longing, and turns ordinary presence into an enigma. Their silence becomes strategy. Their indifference becomes a stage. Their unpredictability becomes a weapon. You can never quite tell where they stand, what they feel, or what they truly want, and that uncertainty keeps others orbiting around them, endlessly trying to decode the puzzle. Machiavelli might have called it appearing virtuous while remaining strategic. Jung might have called it the dance of shadow and persona. In modern terms, it's psychological warfare disguised as allure. These individuals understand, consciously or not, that emotional dominance is not achieved by force, but by contrast, by being what others are not. While the world overexposes, they stay veiled. While others explain, they imply. While most seek validation, they withhold it. And in doing so, they invert the power dynamic. Because when you desire something, or someone, that refuses to be possessed, your mind creates illusions to fill the void. You start to project meaning where there is none, to imagine depth where there is mystery, to assign purity or darkness depending on what your emotions crave. The unattainable person becomes a canvas painted by the desires of others. This is the ultimate Machiavellian trick: to rule without ruling, to dominate without appearing dominant. Their power lies not in what they do, but in what they don't. They evoke fascination, confusion, even obsession, not through grand gestures, but through absence, through the unbearable tension of almost knowing them. In this psychological battleground, the most magnetic person is not the one who speaks the loudest, but the one who makes silence feel like a riddle. They are not the ones who chase, but the ones who make others chase meaning. To them, attraction is not emotion, it's strategy. And their greatest weapon is mystery itself. Every era has its gods. Once, they were carved in marble or painted on cathedral ceilings. Now, they live on screens. In the age of social media, attraction has evolved into a new form of power, one that no longer depends on lineage, intellect, or moral virtue, but on visibility. We do not merely notice the beautiful or the charismatic anymore. We worship them. We build digital temples around their images. Likes, follows, shares. Modern rituals of adoration performed billions of times a day. But this worship is not of the person, it's of the projection. The idea of them. Carl Jung might say they have become vessels for the collective shadow, the side of humanity that hides all its unfulfilled desires, repressed impulses, and forbidden dreams. When we look at them, we are not seeing who they truly are. We are seeing everything we wish to be, but cannot. This is the paradox of the modern age. We have never been more connected, yet the people we idolize are more distant than ever. The influencer's smile, the celebrity's lifestyle, the politician's crafted authenticity, all of it forms a psychological mirage. A shimmering surface that reflects what we crave most: freedom, validation, and control over our image. And just like the most attractive individuals in private life, these public figures use the same Machiavellian principle: control through perception. They understand that power lies not in reality, but in belief. A perfectly curated image can inspire loyalty stronger than truth. A charismatic face can unite millions under a banner that doesn't even need to make sense, it only needs to feel right. We've mistaken image for essence, perception for power, and in doing so, we've inverted the very structure of control. In the past, power descended, from kings to subjects, from rulers to the ruled. But in our digital civilization, control flows upward. The masses feed attention to the myth, and the myth feeds authority back into itself. The more we look, the stronger it becomes. This is not just celebrity culture, it's psychological architecture. The collective unconscious, once hidden in dreams and archetypes, now takes form in algorithms and avatars. Our desires are harvested, refined, and sold back to us, beautifully packaged in the faces of those we can never truly know. Jung once wrote that what we resist, persists. But what we worship consumes us. We project our longing onto unreachable ideals, influencers, idols, icons, and in doing so, we surrender a part of our agency. We become emotionally invested in lives that are not ours, stories that are not real, and faces that exist only through light and code. Society doesn't just admire the uncontrollable, it needs it. Because as long as the myth remains untouchable, the masses remain distracted, chasing meaning in reflections that never existed. And perhaps that's the ultimate illusion of our time. That what we desire most, beauty, fame, control, are not symbols of freedom, but mirrors of our captivity. There comes a moment when the illusion begins to fade. When the person, the idol, the idea that once seemed larger than life, begins to shrink back into human proportion. It doesn't happen through anger or rejection, it happens through awareness. The spell breaks the moment you see that the source of your longing was never out there. It was always within. Carl Jung believed that every human being carries a shadow, the unacknowledged, unintegrated aspects of the self. We spend our lives running from it, burying what we dislike, denying what we fear, hiding what we secretly desire. But what we repress does not disappear, it transforms. It moves outward and takes the shape of other people. We project it onto the world, dressing our disowned parts in the faces of those we admire or envy. That's why attraction feels so powerful, because it's never just about another person. It's about the forgotten parts of yourself reaching out, begging to be seen. The charisma that pulls you in, the confidence that fascinates you, the mystery that haunts you, these are all fragments of your own psyche, trapped behind years of self-denial. The danger lies in misunderstanding this reflection. When you mistake your projection for reality, you surrender control. You begin to chase what was never outside of you to begin with. You call it love, admiration, or obsession, but in truth, it is a dialogue between you and the parts of yourself you've abandoned. Freedom begins when you stop chasing the mirror and turn inward. When you confront the shadow not as an enemy but as a teacher. Every person who captivates you is revealing something hidden within you. The confident reveal your insecurity. The mysterious expose your lack of depth. The free-spirited awaken your buried desire for liberation. The goal is not to destroy attraction or detach from emotion. It's to understand what it's trying to tell you. Awareness transforms projection into insight. The moment you see clearly, the spell breaks, and what once seemed like control over you dissolves into understanding. The people who once held power over your emotions no longer dominate your mind, because you no longer need them to access the parts of yourself they reflected. You become whole again, not through possession, but through realization. And that is the essence of psychological liberation. To reclaim what you once gave away. To see that the beauty you sought in others was, all along, the reflection of your own forgotten light. In the end, the paradox reveals itself with haunting simplicity. The most attractive people are not powerful because they dominate others. They are powerful because they awaken what others have buried. Their strength is not in what they possess, but in what they reflect. They mirror the parts of us we've lost, the confidence we've tamed, the mystery we've silenced, the freedom we've traded for comfort. We mistake this reflection for control, believing that if we win their attention, capture their love, or earn their approval, we will somehow reclaim what we lack. But that illusion is where we surrender. Control was never external. It was never about bending others to our will. It was always about mastering the projections within ourselves. Carl Jung understood this deeply. He saw that what we call attraction or obsession is often the psyche's desperate attempt to become whole. The people we idolize, the ones who make our hearts race and our minds spiral, are merely the symbols through which our unconscious speaks. They are teachers disguised as temptations, reminders of the inner kingdom we've abandoned. And so, the moment you stop chasing the reflection and start confronting the self, the illusion dissolves. The faces that once hypnotized you begin to fade, not because they've changed, but because you have. You begin to see clearly, not through desire, but through understanding. You realize that beauty, power, and control were never meant to be conquered. They were meant to be integrated. To own what you project is to reclaim your wholeness. You don't lose control to beauty. You lose control to the unacknowledged depths of your own psyche. And once you turn inward, once you face what you've denied, nothing outside of you can ever truly control you again.